Welcome to the Yoga Lounge. I'm Michael, and I'm going to give a brief talk tonight. And just thinking about the holidays, and they're quickly approaching us. And in fact, it's what time is it? 1:30 a.m. on the West Coast in where I am is actually in Oceanside, California. And tonight I'm going to talk about kind of like where I left off the last time, for those of you that didn't see the message on about 2 nights ago. I talked about Jesus Christ, the meaning and the reason for this season that we are jumping into in just a matter of weeks, and we have Thanksgiving that's coming up tomorrow. So I'm going to carry on from that, and we're going to talk about what the real cause was and what his real message and ministry was about. So a lot of us, we miss the message. We miss the thing. We miss the very thing that we're supposed to do. And I've talked about this many times. In yoga, we miss the opportunity to be to learn that we just need to sit still. We need to be humble. We need to be quiet. We need to prepare the body for meditation. We don't need to try to show off or make it some kind of show, or as it equates to life and as it equates to spirituality. So many of us and so many, shall we say, ministers or pastors, or there's this kind of element of pride that steps in, and there's like a look how much that I'm doing. We're giving to the homeless. We're giving. Let's build a new church. We're making everybody fulfilled, and we give to the church, and you'll be blessed tenfold. And it's all of this emotional stuff. And so, it really comes down to, I think the message that Jesus taught was to learn to be the most humble, to realize our fallibility, our incapabilities, rather than to think that we are so capable and that we become so prideful. And what he taught was how to be empathetic with others and how to have that compassion. He demonstrated throughout his ministry, and probably what was the pinnacle and the utmost importance about his ministry was the elements of compassion for others. He knew how to, he was healing the sick, giving to the poor, creating miracles out of nothing. Because for one, he was God, but for two, to demonstrate to humanity how people should live, and to set an example for what God's people should do and how they should live their life. So this was really the message, and this is what it is about the season. Now I'm going to say one more thing before I get into these 2 stories I'm going to tell tonight about what Jesus did. We're all rushing around. And I've seen it today. I was just out to the shopping mall and to the local venues around town here, where I am in California, And people are already rushing around. They're getting impatient. And I just said to somebody yesterday I said, when we're waiting in line, we can't wait to get home. We're just rushing past the next person, waiting, and we're just sitting there impatiently. Everybody's just sitting impatiently. They're waiting to get checked out. They're waiting to go to they're waiting to go in the checkout stand at the grocery store or wherever it may be. It could be it could be the auto parts store. It could be the whatever, the sporting goods. And everybody just wants to get ahead of the other person. They can't wait to get somewhere else. And there's an old statement, wherever you go, there you are. So it's like I said to the guy that was right behind me, I said, we're looking forward so much to getting home that we don't realize that we're already home in the line, because we're going to be the same person. In fact, we're probably going to be a lot worse at home, because that's where we get into the most trouble, is when we're by ourselves. And so I said, and then when we get home, we're still really in the same position that we were in the store, but we couldn't wait to get out of there. So we got out of balance, out of the circular frame of centrality. And because we wanted to jump ahead, and we wanted to be in front of the other person, we didn't just want to hang back and be the last, and be patient and be still in where we were. And this is what Jesus taught. He taught to, be comfortable with where we are, to not have anything, to even be willing to sell all of our possessions, to not put all those things in front. And this is what it really means to, like what I talked about the other night, to deny yourself. We find our soul by denying our life. We lose our soul by holding on to our life. So what Jesus taught was we get eternal life through denying ourselves, giving up, be willing to give up our life, put our cross behind us, and follow the narrow path, to follow Jesus Christ. And that is what he taught as the Son of God. And this was the message. So everybody's trying to get ahead. And you know what they're thinking of? What everybody's thinking of? And they're thinking of, okay, I've got to get gifts for my cousin, my uncle, my father, my mother, my sister, my brother, my son, my daughter. I've got to get 15 gifts. So I've got to do whatever it takes. I only got so much time. I got to get it all. And, it's just my duty to do it. And then, so we get lost in that thought. We feel guilty if we don't do our duty to get all the gifts for everybody else. We're worshiping everybody else other than God, which we should be worshiping. And we totally lose sight of the whole message of what it is. So we scurry around, we wait in line, we get our gifts, we get this, we get that, we do this, we do that, we do everything under the sun. Instead of just being still in the now and knowing that He is God, and that we are just infinitesimal part of the whole creation, that we have to be humble. So this is the message tonight, is that, we miss out on the blessing because of our fear, because we're being selfish. We're not focusing on the art of giving, of selflessness. So we miss out on the blessing, because in that moment, and I'm going to tell about it in a minute, what Peter did and what the disciples did in that moment when Jesus was walking on the water. And they got afraid all of a sudden, and they started to sink. Okay, so God brings people into our life. Maybe it's maybe He brings people into your ministry, or into your into the pastor's office, or it could be He brings homeless people. And what does the average person do? Well, we're so busy trying to scurry around to get our gifts and get that and spend money and spend this, and some people have a lot of money. What do? We walk. There's a homeless person that's right next to that doesn't have anything, or maybe they're not homeless, but maybe they haven't eaten. They're starving. You see them. They've got all of their belongings with them. They've got their cart, their sleeping bag, and they could be like sitting right in front of you, and then you walk. Then the person, and they're so busy in their own life and their own thinking, caught up in their own selfish desires. Maybe they're getting ready to watch their favorite celebrity on the, on the nickel and dime show. They walk, and I can tell you what, they walk right over the homeless person, walk right to the side. They completely are oblivious to that person, and God had put them there for a reason, so that they wouldn't miss the blessing. They would stop and help that person. And so they totally miss, because they're afraid. People, and we're all guilty. Even I've done it. We think something's going to happen, so we don't go out of our way. We don't want to cause a ruckus. We think maybe we're not supposed to do it. The person's going to react, or whatever that we're supposed to help. So we completely ignore it. We were going to do it. We were gonna do it, but in that second, we just got fearful. And usually we get selfish. In a lot of cases, we're too insecure, and it's really insecurity within ourselves. So this is what Jesus taught: how to not be afraid, how to step out of your box, and know that He is God, and know that have total faith. There is no fear. John 4:18, in perfect love. Fear knoweth not. Love knoweth not fear, when love is perfect. Perfect meaning, and this is what, and Christ taught about love and perfect love and what that all meant. And he not only taught it, but he walked the walk, lived the life, taught the teachings, and was an active demonstration in all of that. So, we miss out on the blessing. So I'm going to tell these two stories. The first one is, so Jesus, he was, and as I was talking about the other night, he was he was an incredible teacher, and he taught to thousands of people everywhere he would go. Not only that, but so he would see groups of people, and that's the sick. He was also a healer. He would heal the sick. They would, including Lazarus. There was many that and he had this compassion to heal them, to help, to feed. And so this was the man, and of course he was God. He was God incarnate. So he was 100% God, like I said before, and 100% man. But he was demonstrating, and he was teaching his disciples, the disciples that he had. He instructed Peter to go out and start the church, to build the rock of the church. So this was all his demonstration, this early ministry of his. Anyways, let's get right to the story. So what happened was, so they were on a boat. Many of the times his journeys were, they were on the boat. There was many times when him and his disciples, and so they were out in the water, and he said, let's stop in this place, and because there's a lot of people here that need to be helped. They're sick and they need to be healed. And so they all stopped on the land, and so he was healing the sick and whatever he had to do, because he had the compassion at this point. So it got to be at this particular time, this one particular journey that he had, it got to be later and later at night. Now here they only had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. I don't know what they were. Maybe they were salmon, maybe they were trout, or whatever kind of fish they had back there. But they didn't have much food, so it wasn't much. And if you know how much, like 2 loaves of bread, or even, let's say 5 loaves of bread and 1 piece of fish, we would say normally the human mind would say that, gee, that's going to barely feed 1 person. 2, if you're lucky, they might get, a little bit of inklings out of that. And it's just more or less an appetizer, So, but anyway, so Jesus said, the disciples said, it's getting late and it's getting dark, and we better, there's 5,000 people, 5,000 people here. So think about how many people that is. That he talked to many times, crowds like that. We don't know exactly, a lot of it's maybe a little bit off, a little bit this way or that way. But anyway, so the story, there was 5,000 people. And they said, the disciples said, we're going to have to, Master, why don't we send them home? It's getting dark. And so they can go home and feed themselves. We don't have enough food here. We just have this little bit of bread and this fish, which hardly amounts to anything at all. And Jesus told them, no, we're not. We're going to, the people will stay. They're going to stay here, and we're going to feed them all. We're going to feed all the people with what we have, with the food that we have. And I'm sure, and the disciples were thinking, I don't know, this is crazy. It's getting dark. It's getting late. They need to go home. This is getting late. But here, Jesus had insurmountable faith in this situation. After all, right? So they took them out to the grass, and all the people spread about. And 5,000 people, okay? So then they all managed to eat. Jesus fed. Used that 5 loaves of bread to feed 5,000 people. I mean, there's so many. I mean, and you think about that, it's unendable, it's unimaginable, it's uncomprehendable. But he did it. He did it, and they couldn't believe it. And after the people all ate, then the disciples ate as well, and then the people went home. So this was one of the things he did, and it all started because of his original compassion that he needed. He wanted to help the people and stick around and do what he had to do to heal the sick, to take care of the needy, etc., etc., etc. So the verse on that was Matthew 14, 13, I believe, through 21, I think, Matthew. Matthew 14, 13 through 21. So as we go on to that same chapter, Matthew 14, I believe, if I'm not right, then I'll correct it in the description. Matthew 14, we start at verse 22. So this is where they went. So now it was getting late, and so the winds were coming out on the sea. The winds, the lake was starting to buffet up. It was much later now, but Jesus wanted to stay because he still had some work to do. He was still preaching, healing, whatever he had to do. And he told the disciples, now I want you to get the boat, and I want you guys to go ahead of me and take the boat out in the water. I will come catch up with you later. I've still got to go up to the mountain and pray. So the disciples proceeded to go out and got into the boat, got into the water. The waves were starting to get heavier. The wind was coming out. Now so now we're in verse, we're in about 22 as it describes, as you can read the chapter. It will go all the way through, I think, up to 33. Okay, and this is in Matthew 14, 33, I believe. Okay, so Now Jesus, okay, so while they were doing this, and then Jesus actually, after he healed everybody and whatever he had to do, then he went up to the mountain to pray. And so to meditate. So he went up the mountain, and the men were all out on the boat by now, on the waves. And they were pretty far out. They were fairly, quite a ways out there. And I guess that it could equate to miles. It could equate to, it was probably a lot more than 2 or 3 football fields. It was probably a lot further than that. So the disciples, so now it was getting toward the middle of the night. And so now Jesus was going to catch up with the boat, okay? So, and the disciples were actually, the waves were coming out, the waves were buffeting, it was getting rough. And here, so Jesus, it was dawn, it was in the morning. So by now, when Jesus was ready to join them, and he walked on the water. Literally, Jesus walked across the water, and now the disciples saw this. They looked from the boat, and they said, they were scared. It's a ghost. Did you see that? Is that a ghost? And then, so Jesus said, no, it's me, and I'm going to catch up with you. I'm going to come into the boat. And Peter said, if that's Jesus, Lord, then have me come out to walk on the water to you, if it's really you. But there, you have to imagine they had this fear. Okay, so here's where the fear came in. Remember, so here was when people missed the blessing, they missed the miracle. The fear steps in and prevents them from partaking in that whole event. So they had this fear. Oh, it's a ghost. We're scared. They were like, they thought. I don't know what they thought. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were calmer than that. Maybe they just said, "Oh, it can't be Jesus. That's who could walk across the water? Who, So Jesus said, "No, it's me. It's me." And so then Peter said, "If it's you, Lord, then I'll have me let me walk on the water out to you." So that's what he did. So Peter started walking on the water back to where Jesus was. And then all of a sudden, the waves started and the wind started coming out. And so then Peter got fearful. He got afraid. And then he started to sink. And so then Jesus reached his hand down and saved him. Jesus said, because he was starting to sink, and he said, "Lord, save me." And then so Jesus reached down and pulled him up. And then, of course, he said, "Oh, ye of little faith, do not be afraid again." And so that was what actually happened in this particular instance. So do not be afraid again. Okay, so let's go to Matthew 17:20. If you had Jesus, and this is another thing he taught, Jesus said, if you had the faith of a mustard seed, you could move a mountain. You could tell that mountain move, and the mountain would move. And so this is the human block this is the stumbling block that most of us and pretty much all of us, we never get to that point where we literally, if we knew we could and we did what we had to in the moment, we would be able to move those mountains. We'd be able to achieve miracles, but it's our fear, it's our insecurity, it's our non-existent spiritual connection that doesn't allow us to push past that insurmountable odd, or those insurmountable odds of achieving the miracle. Or what it really equates to is It could be broken down to the simplest form, like just helping that person. Maybe God has a blessing for you out of that whole circumstance. God has a blessing for you that you don't know of what it is, but it could be, he could open up doors. It could be a demonstration to other people that would bless somebody else. That we miss out on the miracle because of our fear and our insecurity. So, the art of compassion, and it's really about, instead of, a lot of people walk around with you probably know a lot of people like that, rich people. They walk around with hundreds of dollars in their pockets, some people don't have much money at all. Like I don't have that much. I might have $5 or $10, or maybe not even $2 or $3 in my wallet. But some people have like 40 and 50. They'll walk right past a homeless person or somebody that's sick, and they'll be totally negligent. They'll be like they don't even know that person's there. They look right past, walk around them, or even worse yet, they'll kick them out of the way. What most people do, the way people treat other people, and this is not what Jesus taught. So, people say, well, I don't like those religious freaks. I don't like those people that are spiritual. I like my friends. That's uncool. I want to be cool. I want to be trendy. But that's not what Jesus taught. Jesus taught to love other people, to help them. When you see somebody, capture the blessing, capture the moment. No matter, even if you don't have time, you didn't want to, but something was put in front of you. You need to catch that. We need to catch that. So many times we don't, and this is what, missing the blessing, or missing the call, because we put ourselves first. We failed to. We don't deny ourselves. If you deny this life, we deny ourselves. Then we find our life. If we hold on to we find eternal life. If we hold on to our life, we hold on to this world and all the material things that are in it, we lose our life. If we worship this world and the material things and the possessions, then we lose our soul. We sell out. So, and this is, of course, that's the bigger part of the picture. And this is the lesson here. So we need to, all of us, we need to help others. We need to think about compassion. And every time before something comes along that we see, then we think about that moment. We think, what would Jesus have done? What would Christ have done in that moment? Would he have walked past them? Would he have just said, "Oh no, I don't have time. I got to go to church in 20 minutes"? No, it didn't matter where he was. Even when the night before he was crucified, when he was betrayed, like Peter went over to he smite the ear off the guard. He's literally because Peter was so outraged, and then Jesus said, "No, I don't want to have any part. Peter, don't have any part of that cup. We don't drinketh of that cup." So he went over, and this is the guard of the high priest that was going. They were going to crucify. These wasn't, and he, even knowing that was facing him, and they were his enemies. But this guy had his ear cut off, and he went over to heal his ear. Even up until then, can you think about that? And he healed his ear and said, "Peter, don't drink from that cup of water. That's not of your heavenly Father." So this is the message. So this is, and again, so in part of this, I'm just trying to paint the picture of who Jesus Christ was as a teacher, as a minister, as the Son of God. This is who he was. So it goes way beyond, way much more than we could even imagine, the amount of compassion that this man had. The element, how quick I saw even the Christians are the worst culprits in the church, how quickly they are to judge everybody. Like, oh, look at me, I'm sitting up in the front row. Oh, you were bad last week. You did this and you did that. And so we're going to kick you out of the church, because we don't like what you did. Even though the plank in there, the beam in their eye was much bigger than the person that they were judging. And so many of us, and that is the lesson. Jesus taught us not to judge. For the measure that you judge by is what you're going to be judged yourself. And that's what he taught. Love thy neighbor. Matthew 22, 37 through 39. Love thy neighbor as yourself. Put thy neighbor in front of you. Put thy neighbor ahead. Put your brother, love your, and you almost have to say, and this is going to be my last point tonight. Before we start to judge somebody else, and I have to say, I am probably worse than that person over there, but before I even think about judging him or saying anything, I'm probably a bigger sinner than they are. And this is the place where we have to come back to where we can truly help and not judge the other person. To really, instead of judging, we need to help and reach out to them. And that is what really the Christian, it's not about being cool and about being, high and mighty and about thinking of self, about, having the crowd, you're a rock star, that everybody worships you like so many people do. They get paid millions. Look at the celebrities, the football stars, the baseball stars. They get paid, it's unheard of. And they're just thinking about themselves. They don't really like they act like they like their fans. They'll get up in front of the newscast and say, I love them all. I love everybody. I love all my fans. But do they really? Are they doing it for God? Probably not, because they don't even want to mention the name of Jesus Christ. So, yet everybody looks over the saint in the back of the room with the long, shabby hair, and they say that, well, he should have gotten an education just like I did. I took the time to go to school and get educated and did what I had to do. I worked my way through college. God helps those who help themselves. Why didn't he? He had the chance. So then they don't help him. God only helps those who help themselves. They had a chance just like I did, right? So they don't help the other person. Instead of saying, no, it's not like God and Jesus, despite their condition, he helped them, no matter what, no matter who. Even the Pharisees and they accused him. Why are you having supper with the tax collectors? Why are you doing this, Jesus? Why are you hanging out with those? You should be hanging out with the rich people in the synagogues. So that was another thing that they accused him of. Like, what are you hanging out with sinners for? And sometimes, honestly, it's better to, to hang out with a sinner that at least he's open about it in the streets, and he sins or whatever he does, or drinks alcohol, but he doesn't lie. He's not a hypocrite. What's even worse than actually doing sinning or whatever you're doing is being proud and being a hypocrite and going out and doing it and saying and acting with a holier than thou attitude. Like, it's better to actually be out and open about it. It's like 10 and 100 times worse to when you're hypocritical about it. And you pretend to be like you're some holy person and that you're in the church, and then yet the very next day you're putting down somebody who loves God, or you're, whatever, you're reacting negative toward your brother, or sort of a brother in the Lord, or toward or that's maybe a brother that's, a hopeless, alcoholic, or or whatever, and you look down upon that person, or we look down upon that person, and so anyways, that's not what Jesus taught. Jesus taught, love thy brother, love thy neighbor as thyself. Be open, be honest, be compassionate, be helpful. And with all that, I'm going to close tonight, and I hope I got everything in as much as best I can. But anyways, we're going into the holidays, and the holidays are here. And by the way, and giving presents and all that stuff is wonderful. I mean, it's all part of the holidays, but let's just not put that first. Let's realize what this, if it wasn't for God, none of us would be here in the first place. But through his forbearance, his kindness, and not destroying this planet, which he could, like we said before, we're able to enjoy the holidays, and we're able to, enjoy going out to have turkey with all of our friends. But let's not put getting drunk with our friends and doing all that stuff. And, let's think about, and always have it be mindful of the fact that we're thinking about the people that don't have anything. So we take our time. Maybe we invite somebody or we help somebody that's a needy person, rather than just showing all our favoritism toward our friends. Think we're doing a good deed by just having all of our friends and family over, and that we're giving presents to them. And even if we do that, but always have the overvision that this is really about God. It's really about Jesus. The Christmas is all about Jesus Christ. It's not about our next door neighbor, or our local hero, or our best friend from college. It's not about that. It's about a much higher purpose. Okay, so I'm going to close tonight, and I'll say a happy Thanksgiving to you all in the USA, because you might be seeing it from another country, and they don't celebrate Thanksgiving there. Just today, I was talking to my ex-wife, and she said, "Well, you mentioned Happy Thanksgiving. Well, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Germany." And she sent me some beautiful paintings, actually, that were incredible. I think one was a Leonardo da Vinci picture of Jesus in the Last Supper or something. Anyways, so before I get into all that, so they were beautiful. By the way, they were beautiful paintings that she had sent me in a text message. Photographs of paintings. All right, so I will say goodbye, and have a great night.